A desperate encounter. The silence of the void was broken only by the gentle hum of the station's life support systems. Liam Hawkins, sole engineer and inhabitant of Zeta Station, stood before the vast observation window, his gaze lost in the infinite expanse of stars. It had been months since he'd seen another living being, the solitude of his post weighing heavily upon him. Liam's reverie was shattered by the sudden blare of proximity alarms. He raced to the control room, his heart pounding in his chest. The sensors displayed a small spacecraft, badly damaged and drifting dangerously close to the station. Unidentified vessel, Liam called over the comms. This is Zeta Station. You are on approach to a restricted facility. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. No response. The ship continued its erratic path, seeming barely under control. Making a split-second decision, Liam overrode the safety protocols and opened the docking bay. Better to bring them in than risk a collision that could damage the station. With a shuddering clang, the ship lurched into the bay, screeching against the deck plating as it skidded to a stop. Liam grabbed a medkit and a plasma cutter, unsure what he might be facing, and raced down to the bay. The vessel was small, barely larger than an escape pod. Its hull was scorched and dented, bearing the scars of battle. Liam approached cautiously, noting the unfamiliar design. This was no human craft. With a hiss of hydraulics, the ship's hatch opened. Liam tensed, plasma cutter at the ready. But what emerged was no threat, but rather a figure that made Liam's breath catch in his throat. She was humanoid but undeniably alien. Her skin shimmered with a pearlescent sheen, her hair a cascade of silver that seemed to glow in the dim light. She stumbled forward, clearly injured, and Liam lunged to catch her before she fell. As his hands made contact with her skin, Liam felt a jolt, like a static shock. The alien's eyes fluttered open, revealing irises that swirled with opalescent color. "Please," she whispered, her voice melodic despite the pain that strained it. "Help me." Liam didn't hesitate. He scooped her up into his arms, marveling at her lightness, and hurried to the station's medbay. She drifted in and out of consciousness as he worked to stabilize her, cleaning and dressing the wounds that marred her unusual flesh. Burns and deep bruises spoke of a great conflict, a desperate flight. What horrors had she endured to end up here at the edge of human space? As he set up a drip to replenish her fluids, Liam found himself studying her face. Even in her battered state, there was an undeniable beauty to her angular features, a grace to the curve of her jaw and the sweep of her brow. He found himself wondering what color her eyes might be when not clouded by pain. Hours passed as Liam tended to her, the silence of the station broken only by the soft beep of the medical equipment and the gentle rise and fall of the alien's breath. When he had done all he could, he pulled a blanket over her still form and dimmed the lights. Just as he was about to leave, a soft voice echoed in his mind. "Thank you." Liam spun around, but the alien hadn't stirred, had he imagined it. Shaking his head, Liam returned to the control room. He needed to report this, to let command know about their unexpected visitor. But as his hand hovered over the comm switch, he hesitated. Something about this felt private, intimate even. The alien had come to him, to his station, as if guided by an unseen hand, and the way she had looked at him, the sensation when he touched her. Liam let his hand fall. He would keep this to himself for now, at least until she woke up and he could get some answers. Days passed and the alien remained in a deep, healing sleep. Liam found himself spending more and more time in the medbay, watching over her. He told himself it was out of medical necessity, but deep down, he knew it was more than that. There was a connection here, tenuous and undefined, but undeniable. Every time he checked her vitals, every time he adjusted her blanket, he felt it. A tingle, a warmth, like the first rays of sun after a long, cold night. On the fourth day, as Liam was changing her dressings, the alien's eyes suddenly opened. Liam froze, transfixed by the swirl of colors he saw there. Green and gold, purple and blue, shifting and changing like the aurora borealis. Where? The question echoed in his mind, even as the alien's lips remained still. Liam blinked, unsure if he was really hearing her voice or if it was some trick of his lonely mind. "You're safe," he said aloud, keeping his voice soft and reassuring. "This is Zeta Station. I'm Liam Hawkins, the engineer here." A flicker of something, fear maybe or confusion, passed over the alien's face. "I am Zephyr." This time her lips did move, though the sound seemed strangely disconnected from the words in Liam's mind. "Zephyr," Liam repeated, smiling. "It's nice to meet you." He held up the fresh bandages. I was just changing these. Your injuries are healing well, but you need rest. Zephyr nodded, her gaze drifting around the medbay. Liam could sense her apprehension, her disorientation. How did I get here? She asked. Your ship docked 4 days ago, Liam explained. You were unconscious and badly hurt. He hesitated, then asked the question that had been burning in his mind. What happened to you, Zephyr? How did you end up like this? A shadow passed over Zephyr's face. Liam felt a wave of emotions emanate from her: pain, fear, despair. It was almost overwhelming in its intensity. I escaped, Zephyr whispered, her eyes far away. From a terrible place, a place of pain, experiments. I couldn't stay, they were going to. Her voice trailed off, and Liam saw a single silvery tear track down her cheek. His heart clenched. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and gently wiped the tear away. You don't have to talk about it now, he said softly. You're safe here, Zephyr. I promise no one will hurt you here. Zephyr's eyes met his, and for a moment Liam felt like he was falling into their infinite depths. Safe, she echoed, as if tasting the word. Yes, I feel safe with you, Liam Hawkins. Something bloomed in Liam's chest at those words, a warmth he hadn't felt in a long, long time. Fate had brought this extraordinary being to his doorstep, and he knew, with a certainty that defied logic, that his life would never be the same. But as he looked into Zephyr's eyes, he found he didn't mind at all. In fact, for the first time in longer than he could remember, Liam felt the stirrings of something he thought he'd lost forever out here in the cold depths of space. Hope. As the days passed, Zephyr's strength slowly returned. Liam found himself spending more and more time with her, talking, learning, laughing. It was a balm to his lonely soul, having someone to share his days with. Zephyr was endlessly curious about life on the station, about Earth, about Liam himself. She absorbed information like a sponge, her quick mind grasping concepts with an ease that astonished him. In turn, she began to share pieces of her own story. Liam learned that she was a member of a race called the Luminari, a people with abilities that defied human understanding. Telepathy, telekinesis, energy manipulation, these were as natural to Zephyr as breathing. But with these gifts came a heavy burden. The Luminari were a divided people, split between those who believed their powers should be used for the good of all, and those who sought to exploit them for personal gain. Zephyr had been part of the former group, working in secret to undermine the cruel experiments and machinations of the latter. But she had been discovered, captured, subjected to terrible trials designed to break her will and turn her gifts to dark purposes. I couldn't let them win, she told Liam one night as they sat in the observation lounge watching the stars. I had to get away to find help, to find hope. Her hand found his in the darkness, and Liam felt that now familiar jolt of connection. You found me, he said softly, squeezing her fingers. Zephyr turned to him, her eyes shining in the starlight. Yes, she whispered, I found you. But even as they grew closer, Liam couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. Zephyr's ship had been damaged, yes, but it hadn't been destroyed. Surely those she had fled from would come looking for her. His fears were confirmed when the long-range sensors picked up a signal, a Luminari vessel, fast approaching the station. Liam's heart sank as he read the message they broadcast on all frequencies. Surrender the fugitive Zephyr to us and no harm will come to you. Resist and face the consequences. Liam found Zephyr in the medbay, her face pale. They've come for me, she said, her voice shaking. Liam, I'm so sorry, I never meant to bring this trouble to you. Liam took her hands, his jaw set with determination. I'm not giving you up, he said firmly. We'll figure this out together. A spark of hope flickered in Zephyr's eyes, but it was tinged with fear. Liam, you don't know what they're capable of, the things I've seen them do. I'm not afraid, Liam said, and in that moment he meant it. We're in this together now, Zephyr, you and me. He pulled her into an embrace, feeling her tremble against him. In that moment, he made a silent vow. No matter what came, no matter what threats they faced, he would protect this extraordinary being who had brought such light into his life. Even if it meant facing the full might of the Luminari. As the alien ship drew closer, Liam's mind raced. They needed a plan, and fast. The station was no match for a Luminari vessel in a straight fight. But Liam knew this station like the back of his hand. Every airlock, every service duct, every hidden nook and cranny. And he had something else too, a reason to fight. He met Zephyr's gaze, saw the trust and determination shining there. In that moment, a bond was forged between them, stronger than any metal, more powerful than any star. Together they would face this storm, together they would find a way. For in the vast, cold emptiness of space, they had found the most precious thing of all. Each other. And that was worth fighting for. The Luminari ship loomed on the view screen, its sleek lines and pulsing lights a stark contrast to the utilitarian design of Zeta Station. Liam felt Zephyr tense beside him, her eyes fixed on the image of her former captors. "We need to buy time," Liam said, his mind racing. "If we can delay them, maybe we can find a way out of this." Zephyr nodded, her jaw tight. "I can talk to them, try to reason with them, but Liam, if it comes down to it, you have to let me go. I can't let you suffer for my sake." Liam turned to her, his expression fierce. "That's not an option. We're in this together, remember." A ghost of a smile touched Zephyr's lips. "I remember." Liam took a deep breath and opened a channel. "Luminari vessel, this is Zeta Station. We have received your message and are considering our response. Please stand by." He muted the channel and turned to Zephyr. "Okay, we need a plan. Is there anything about your ship, your people's technology, that we could use to our advantage?" Zephyr frowned thoughtfully. "My ship is equipped with a phase shift drive. It's how I was able to escape in the first place. If we could get to it, we might be able to make a jump before they could catch us." Liam's eyes widened. "A phase shift drive? I've never heard of such a thing." "It's experimental technology," Zephyr explained. "It allows a ship to briefly shift out of normal spacetime, but it's unpredictable and it puts a huge strain on the ship. That's why mine was so damaged when I arrived." Liam nodded slowly. "It's risky, but it might be our best shot. We'd have to get to your ship without them noticing, though." "I think I can help with that," Zephyr said. She closed her eyes and Liam felt a strange tingling sensation wash over him. When she opened her eyes, they were glowing softly. "I've cloaked us from their sensors," she said. "It won't last long, but it should give us enough time to get to the ship." Liam stared at her amazed. "You never cease to surprise me," he said softly. Zephyr smiled, but it was tinged with sadness. "There's a lot about me you don't know, Liam. Things I've had to do, choices I've had to make. I'm not sure you'd look at me the same way if you knew." Liam took her hand, his gaze unwavering. "Try me." As they made their way through the station's corridors, dodging sensor sweeps and patrols from the Luminari ship, Zephyr began to talk. She told him of growing up among the Luminari, of discovering her abilities and the great responsibility that came with them. She spoke of the rising tensions between the factions, the increasingly violent clashes, the lives lost on both sides. And she told him of the mission she had been on when she was captured. A covert operation to infiltrate a secret facility where the opposition was conducting cruel experiments, trying to amplify Luminari abilities through torture and genetic manipulation. "I was supposed to gather evidence to expose their crimes to the Council," Zephyr said, her voice tight with emotion. "But I was discovered, and when they realized they couldn't break me, couldn't turn me to their side, they decided to make an example of me." Liam's heart clenched at the pain in her voice. "Zephyr." "I had to make a choice," she continued, her eyes distant. "To save myself, to have a chance to complete my mission. I had to do something terrible. I had to use my powers in a way I never had before." She fell silent, her shoulders heavy with the weight of memory. Liam squeezed her hand gently, offering what comfort he could. "Whatever you did," he said softly, "I know you did it because you had to. Because you're a good person, Zephyr. That's who you are at your core." Zephyr met his gaze, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I hope you're right, Liam, I truly do." They reached the docking bay without incident, thanks to Zephyr's cloaking. But as they approached her ship, they found their way barred by a figure in Luminari armor, his weapon trained on them. "Zephyr," the figure said, his voice cold. "I knew you would come back for your ship, predictable as always." Zephyr stiffened. "Malak, I should have known they would send you." Malak chuckled darkly. "You always were too smart for your own good, but it ends here. You're coming back with me to face judgment for your crimes." Liam stepped forward, placing himself between Zephyr and the gun. "She's not going anywhere with you," he said, his voice steady despite the fear pounding in his veins. Malak sneered. "And who are you, human, her pet, her plaything? Do you have any idea what she's capable of?" "I know exactly what she's capable of," Liam retorted. "I've seen her compassion, her bravery, her determination to do what's right. That's all I need to know." Zephyr laid a hand on Liam's shoulder. "Liam, please, I can't let you do this." But Liam stood firm. We're a team, Zephyr, we stand together. Malik laughed, a harsh, grating sound. How touching, but it changes nothing. You're both coming with me whether you like it or not. His finger tightened on the trigger. Time seemed to slow. Liam braced himself, ready to shield Zephyr with his own body if necessary. But the shot never came. Instead, Malik let out a strangled gasp, his gun clattering to the floor. He clutched at his throat, his eyes bulging as if an invisible hand was squeezing the life out of him. Liam turned to Zephyr and saw her eyes glowing brighter than ever before, her hand outstretched, her face a mask of concentration and pain. Zephyr, no, Liam cried. Don't do this. Don't let them make you into something you're not. For a long, terrible moment, Zephyr didn't move. Then slowly she lowered her hand. Malik collapsed, gasping for breath. Zephyr staggered and Liam caught her. I almost, she whispered, her voice shaking. But you didn't, Liam said firmly. You made the right choice, that's what matters. A loud clang echoed through the bay as the Luminari ship locked onto the station, preparing to board. Liam and Zephyr looked at each other, understanding passing between them without words. Together, they raced aboard Zephyr's ship. Liam threw himself into the co-pilot seat as Zephyr's hands flew over the controls, powering up the phase shift drive. Hold on, she said, her eyes hard with determination. This might get a little bumpy. The ship hummed with power, the stars outside the viewscreen stretching and distorting as the drive engaged. Liam felt a sickening lurch in his stomach as reality itself seemed to twist around them. And then, with a flash of blinding light, they were gone, slipping through the cracks of spacetime, leaving Zeta Station and the Luminari far behind. But as the ship stabilized and the normal starfield returned, Liam knew their journey was far from over. They had escaped, but at what cost? And what new challenges awaited them in the unknown reaches of space? He looked over at Zephyr, saw the mixture of relief and trepidation on her face, and knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next, they would face it together, a daring escape. The phase shift drive hummed with a constant, low-frequency vibration that set Liam's teeth on edge. He watched the strange colors swirl outside the viewscreen, a kaleidoscope of hues that didn't belong in normal space. How long can we stay in phase shift? He asked, glancing over at Zephyr. She shook her head, her brow furrowed in concentration as she monitored the ship's systems. Not long. The drive wasn't meant for sustained use. We'll need to drop back into normal space soon to let it cool down. Liam nodded, trying to ignore the knot of tension in his stomach. Every minute in phase shift was a minute they weren't being pursued, but it was also a minute closer to a potentially catastrophic malfunction. As if on cue, an alarm started blaring. Zephyr cursed under her breath, her hands flying over the controls. The drive is overheating. We need to drop out now. Liam braced himself as Zephyr initiated the sequence. The swirling colors outside the viewscreen stretched and distorted, then snapped back into the familiar blackness of normal space, dotted with distant stars. For a moment they held their breath, scanning the sensors for any sign of pursuit, but the scopes remained clear. They were alone. Liam let out a shaky laugh, the tension draining from his body. We did it, we actually did it. Zephyr managed a small smile, but it was strained. For now, but they'll be looking for us. We need to find somewhere to lay low, make repairs, plan our next move. Right? Liam turned to the navigational console, calling up a star map. There's an old mining colony not too far from here. It's been abandoned for years, but the facilities might still be usable. It could be a good place to hide out for a while. Zephyr nodded. It's as good a plan as any. Let's go. As they set course for the mining colony, Liam could feel the weight of unanswered questions hanging in the air between them. The things Zephyr had revealed during their escape, the darkness she carried within her, it was a lot to process. But there would be time for that later. For now, they needed to focus on survival. The mining colony was a ghost town, its structures worn and weathered by the unforgiving environment of the planetoid it clung to. But as Liam and Zephyr explored, they found that the base's core systems were still functional. There was power, water, even some preserved food stocks. It wasn't much, but it was a start. As they settled in, falling into a routine of repairs and planning, Liam started to notice a change in Zephyr. She was quieter, more withdrawn. She would often sit for hours, staring out at the barren landscape, lost in thought. Liam gave her space at first, sensing that she needed time to process everything that had happened. But as the days stretched into weeks, he began to worry. One evening he found her in the old mess hall, sitting at a table with a mug of reconstituted coffee cradled in her hands. She looked up as he approached, offering a small, tired smile. "Hey," Liam said softly, sitting down across from her. "You okay?" Zephyr sighed, her gaze dropping to the dark liquid in her mug. "I don't know, Liam. I thought getting away would make things better, but I can't shake this feeling, this darkness inside me." Liam reached across the table, covering her hand with his. "Zephyr, what you went through, what you had to do, it's not something anyone should have to carry alone." She looked up at him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I'm afraid, Liam, afraid of what I'm capable of what I might become." "You're not defined by your worst moments," Liam said firmly. "You're defined by your choices, by what you do in the face of adversity. And every step of the way, you've chosen to do what's right, no matter the cost to yourself." A single tear tracked down Zephyr's cheek. "I want to believe that, I do, but the things I've done, the lives I've taken, how can I ever come back from that?" Liam squeezed her hand. "By keeping going, by using your power to help, to heal, to protect, by being the person I know you are deep down." Zephyr took a shaky breath, then nodded. "I'll try, for you and for myself, I'll try." From that moment, something shifted between them. The bond that had been forged in the heat of danger deepened, grew into something more. They found solace in each other, a safe harbor in the storm of their lives. But even as they grew closer, the specter of the past loomed over them. They knew they couldn't hide forever. Sooner or later, they would have to face the consequences of their actions. That day came sooner than they expected. They were in the middle of repairing the ship's life support systems when the alarm sounded. Liam's heart sank as he saw the readings on the sensor display. A luminary ship closing fast. They had been found. Zephyr's face hardened with resolve. "We have to go now." They scrambled to the ship, powering up the engines even as the luminary vessel entered orbit around the planetoid. Liam's hands shook as he initiated the launch sequence, his mind racing with possibilities, none of them good. The ship shuddered as it lifted off, the planetoid's thin atmosphere whipping past the view screen. They had barely cleared the surface when the luminary ship opened fire, lances of energy searing past them. Zephyr threw the ship into evasive maneuvers, her face tight with concentration. Liam manned the weapons, returning fire as best he could, but the luminary ship outclassed them in every way. A direct hit sent sparks flying across the cockpit, alarms blaring in a cacophony of desperation. Liam coughed, waving smoke from his face, his eyes watering. "The engines are hit," Zephyr said, her voice strained. "We can't outrun them." Liam looked at her, saw the fear and determination warring in her eyes, and made a decision. "No," he said, unbuckling his harness, "but maybe we don't have to." He stumbled to the back of the ship, to the phase shift drive. It was glowing with a sickly, pulsing light, still damaged from their last jump. But it was their only chance. Liam placed his hands on the drive, ignoring the searing heat, the pain that shot up his arms. He closed his eyes, reaching out with his mind, his heart, his very soul. And something answered. He felt Zephyr's presence beside him, her power mingling with his, a symphony of light and energy. Together, they poured everything they had into the drive, willing it to work to save them. The ship seemed to stretch, to twist, to fold in on itself. Reality warped around them, the laws of physics bending to their combined will. And with a flash of blinding light, they vanished, slipping through the cracks of the universe itself. When Liam opened his eyes, they were adrift in a sea of stars. No sign of the luminary, no sign of anything familiar. Zephyr was slumped against the wall, her breathing shallow. Liam crawled to her, cradling her in his arms. "Zephyr," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "Zephyr, please." Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, then sharpening as they found his. "Liam, what happened?" "We jumped," Liam said, a weak laugh bubbling up from his chest. "We actually jumped, I don't know how, but we did it." Zephyr stared at him, wonder and disbelief mingling on her face. You used the drive, I felt you, your energy. It was like nothing I've ever experienced." Liam shook his head. "It wasn't just me, it was us together, your power, my, whatever it was something new, something different." They held each other in the dimness of the ship, marveling at what they had done, what they had become. But even as relief and joy washed over them, a new realization settled in. They were lost, adrift in an unknown corner of the universe, with a damaged ship and no idea where to go next. And yet, as Liam looked into Zephyr's eyes, he found he wasn't afraid. They had each other, and somehow that was enough. Whatever the future held, whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as they had faced everything else. Together, the stars stretched out before them, an endless expanse of possibility and uncertainty. Liam and Zephyr worked tirelessly to repair their ship, but progress was slow. The phase shift drive had taken them far from any familiar space, and resources were scarce. They took turns sleeping in shifts, one always keeping watch for any sign of pursuit or potential aid. But the days stretched into weeks with no change in their situation. Until the day the signal came. It was faint, barely distinguishable from the background noise of the universe. But it was there, a steady pulse of data, a beacon in the darkness. Zephyr isolated the signal, her eyes widening as she deciphered its contents. "It's a distress call," she said, her voice tight with excitement and trepidation, "from an Earth ship." Liam stared at the readout, hardly daring to believe it. An Earth ship out here in the uncharted reaches of space. It seemed impossible. But impossible had become a relative term of late. They traced the signal to its source, a small, battered vessel drifting in the shadow of a massive gas giant. As they drew closer, they could see the extensive damage, the scorch marks of battle marring its hull. Liam hailed the ship, hopping against hope for a response. For a long moment there was nothing. Then a crackling voice filled the cockpit. "This is Captain Nora Vega of the IIS Horizon. We are in need of immediate assistance. Please, if anyone can hear this." Liam and Zephyr looked at each other, a silent understanding passing between them. They had to help. They docked with the Horizon, finding a ragtag crew of survivors huddled in the dimly lit corridors. They were wary at first, eyeing Zephyr with a mix of fear and curiosity. But Captain Vega welcomed them, her gratitude overriding any reservations. As they worked together to repair both ships, the story of the Horizon's plight unfolded. They had been on a long-range exploratory mission when they were ambushed by an unknown alien force. Outgunned and outmatched, they had fled, making a series of random jumps to escape pursuit. But the jumps had taken a toll, stranding them here, light years from Earth and any hope of rescue. Until now. As the days passed and the repairs progressed, Liam and Zephyr found themselves growing close to the Horizon's crew. There was a kinship there, a shared experience of being lost and hunted in the vastness of space. But there was something else too, a growing realization of the threat they all faced. The aliens who had attacked the Horizon were no mere pirates or scavengers. They were a force to be reckoned with, a civilization with technology far beyond anything Earth or the Luminari possessed. And they were expanding, their ships venturing ever further into the galaxy, conquering and enslaving all in their path. It was a sobering revelation, one that weighed heavily on them all. But it also sparked a determination, a resolve to fight back against this encroaching darkness. They knew they couldn't do it alone. Earth needed to be warned, the Luminari needed to be rallied. Old conflicts and differences needed to be set aside in the face of this greater threat. It was a daunting task, but one they knew they had to undertake. As the ships parted ways, Captain Vega clasped Liam's hand, her grip firm and her gaze steady. "You've given us hope," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "Hope that we can make it back, that we can make a difference. We won't forget that." Liam returned her grip, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. "We'll get the word out," he promised. "One way or another, we'll make sure Earth is ready." Zephyr stood beside him, her presence a constant comfort and strength. They had come so far together, faced so much, but their journey was far from over. They set a course for Earth, knowing that every light year crossed would be fraught with danger. The Luminari were still hunting Zephyr, and the news of this new alien threat would only complicate matters further. But they had each other, and they had a purpose, a mission that transcended their individual struggles and fears. As the stars streaked past the view screen, Liam reached out, taking Zephyr's hand in his. She smiled at him, that small, rare smile that never failed to make his heart skip a beat. "Together," he asked, his voice a whisper in the stillness of the cockpit. "Together," she affirmed, her fingers intertwining with his. And together they faced the uncertain future, ready to fight for their worlds, their peoples, and each other. The journey back to Earth was long and perilous, every jump a roll of the dice that could bring them face to face with Luminari pursuit or the encroaching alien threat. They subsisted on meager rations, rationing power and resources, pushing the ship and themselves to the limit. But through it all, their bond only grew stronger. The long hours in the cockpit, the shared meals in the dimly lit galley, the quiet moments of respite where they could simply be together, these were the things that sustained them, that gave them the strength to carry on. And then, after what felt like an eternity, they saw it. A small blue-green marble suspended in the blackness of space. Earth home. As they entered the solar system, they were immediately hailed by Earth's defenses. Liam held his breath as they transmitted their identities and mission, waiting for the response. It came in the form of an escort, a squadron of sleek, heavily armed ships that fell into formation around them, guiding them towards the shimmering blue expanse of Earth's atmosphere. They touched down at a secure military base, the ship shuddering as it settled onto the tarmac. Liam and Zephyr exchanged a glance, a mix of relief and trepidation in their eyes. This was it, the moment of truths. They were met by a delegation of Earth's leaders, their faces a mix of curiosity, wariness, and outright hostility. Liam stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest. "My name is Liam Hawkins," he began, his voice steady despite his nerves. "And this is Zephyr of the Luminari. We come with urgent news and a plea for unity in the face of a common threat." There was a moment of tense silence. Then one of the leaders stepped forward. It was a woman, her face lined with the weight of responsibility, her eyes sharp and assessing. "We're listening," she said, her tone guarded but not dismissive. "Tell us everything." And so they did. They spoke of their individual journeys, of the conflict between the Luminari factions, of the cruelty and the kindness they had encountered among the stars. But most importantly, they spoke of the alien threat, of the ships that had attacked the horizon, of the advanced technology and the ruthless expansion, of the danger that loomed over them all, Earth and Luminari alike. As they spoke, Liam could see the shifting emotions on the faces of Earth's leaders. Doubt, fear, resignation, and finally, determination. The woman who had spoken first nodded slowly, her expression grim. "This is a lot to take in," she admitted, "but the evidence is clear. This is a threat we cannot ignore." She turned to her fellow leaders, a silent communication passing between them. Then she turned back to Liam and Zephyr. "We must confer with our allies, gather our forces. But know this, Earth will not stand idly by in the face of this danger. We will fight, as we have always fought, for our survival and our future." Liam felt a surge of hope, of pride in his people. He glanced at Zephyr, saw the same emotions reflected in her eyes. They had done it, they had brought their warning, forged an alliance. The road ahead would be long and hard, but for the first time they were not alone. As the leaders dispersed to begin their preparations, Liam and Zephyr were left standing on the tarmac, the weight of their journey finally settling on their shoulders.